Pokemon fans, I'm Professor K.
Squeak.
And that's N being weird. Okay, so we're going to start off with an announcement. Actually, a question more than anything. Who do you think took place at today's tournament?
Who do you think?
I'll wait. Go ahead. Well, actually, no, I can't hear you, so we'll just go ahead and tell you. It was me, Professor K. Now, I've gotten a second place finish, and you guys don't know this yet because I didn't make a video about it, but I did manage to take third place 2 weeks ago as well. So now I have a first place finish, a second place finish, and a third place finish.
Yeah, I have not been doing so well recently.
Yeah, he's had a little bit of a rough time with it, but the reason I didn't show you my third place finish was mainly just because I chose to take Phantom Forces packs as prizes, which aren't out yet, obviously, so I've got to wait for that. And I also did the same this time, but I decided to combine the announcement video with a deck profile this time. Last time, gosh, what did I run last time? I ran a weird deck. I built one with Landorus and Super Scoop Ups, and it was just more of a kind of a fun deck than anything. I didn't expect to actually take third place with it, but I did. So this time around, took first place. I'll be telling you about some of the matches here towards the end, how it went, once we get the deck profiled and we get to take a look at exactly what makes it tick. So of course, with any Donphan deck, which there's been so many of them out there, you're going to want to start with Vampy.
It's so freaking cute.
Yep, 80 HP, basic Pokemon from Plasma Storm. I saw this card originally when Furious Fist came out. It was still 49 cents for this card, and it's shot up to like well over $1, $2 sometimes. And Donphan was 69 cents, and now it's anywhere between $2 to $5 a card. So their value was shot up tremendously with their usefulness with the fighting support from Furious Fist. So we got 4 Phanpy, obviously, and now we're going to take a look at Donphan.
So how does it turn from something so adorable to something that looks like it wants to stomp your guts out?
Well, it grew some bulk. That's all I can say. Not to mention a jump in 50 HP.
Who am I kidding? Even Phanpy could probably stomp your guts out.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty big Pokemon regardless. So anyways, we're going to take a look at Donphan here. For 1 fighting energy, does spinning turn, 40 damage, and you switch this Pokemon with one of your benched Pokemon. That's the main focus of this deck, is to get in, attack with spinning turn, and get back out. That way, you don't get knocked out even though you've got this big, bulky, 130 HP Pokemon that can take a hit most of the time. It really makes it hard for opponents to deal with. Now, of course, your second option here is to use Wreck. Wreck does 80 damage and 60 more if you have a Stadium card in play, and then you would discard that Stadium card. Now, with that kind of support in Furious Fist, you're talking, a strong energy being able to hit for 160, muscle band 180, or 2 strong energy. You have the ability to one-shot any EX in the game, and even some Megas you can one-shot if you have enough stuff set up to use Wreck. Now, this is where the deck starts to differ. There's been lots of builds of this deck recently, and a lot that did well at recent regionals. But I took some of those deck lists and I put my own spin on it, which is what I do. I don't like to copy people's deck list. I like to create my own things, just take a basic idea that does well and put my own spin on it. And this time it really paid off for me. I'll show you guys here the tech cards that are involved. First of all, we've got to Hawlucha! That almost sounds like you were cheering. He's definitely hissing because he hates Hawlucha. Anyways, you guys know that by now. But Hawlucha is actually a good Pokemon.
No!
It really is, honestly. I didn't give it enough credit. Flying Press, 60 damage, but if your opponent's active Pokemon isn't an EX, it does nothing. So it's a high-risk, high-reward kind of card. With a strong energy, you're hitting for 80, a Muscle Band does 100, or a Silver Bangle 110. If you have a Fighting Stadium in play, you're talking up to 130 damage for a single energy on an EX only. But the other nice thing about this is no retreat cost. So you can pretty much put this up with no consequence and be able to get out of the active spot. It's a good Pokemon in this deck. So we got 2 of those for that reason, mostly free retreat, but also this really, really annihilated my opponent's EX Pokemon in this tournament, being able to hit for such a high amount of damage. More times than not, I was hitting for anywhere between 100 to 130 damage. So we'll take a look at the rest of them. I'm going to put up the 2 that are probably the most common next, and then you're going to go, what in the world about the next 3? Here we go. So we're going to also run 2 Sigilif for the Safeguard ability, being able to block Pokemon EX from being able to attack you. The idea is to attach a Float Stone to these and just throw them up in the active position, while Donphan uses Spinning Turn back and forth. Your opponent's Pokemon EX can't attack you unless they've got a catcher that they manage to flip heads on, or if they've got a Lysander. So for the most part, that does a very good job at walling out your opponent's Pokemon EX, and it certainly did today. Now we're going to get into the weird ones. This is where the deck differs greatly from what I built before, which was Donphan Trevenant. And this works so much better because it puts so much fear into your opponents to be able to attack you. But first, let's take a look at one Pokemon that no one expects to see. Madman! Lunatone? Really? Who runs Lunatone? Well, I'll tell you right now, in this kind of a deck, it does quite well. Especially considering that if you run Karina in this deck and you've already got your Donphans out, you don't really need Hawlucha, you can use Karina to get your item card and then throw this out there as well. Because Premonition. Once during your turn before you attack, you may look at the top 2 cards of your deck and put them on top of your deck in any order. So now you're planning to set yourself up every single turn with this simple 90 HP Lunatone that sits on the bench and just takes up a little bit of space. Now, you all know that having the right card at the right time can make a world of difference in a match. And I'll tell you, right now, Premonition saved me so many times where I had a Strong Energy being my second card, able to put it on top of the deck, get it next turn, spinning turn, knockouts. It's just a really good card in this deck. I would recommend it very highly. I feel that it adds such a level of consistency to it that it's just not worth it to not have it. Now, the other main focus of this deck, because you're going to want a spinning turn into something, and if your opponent has 90X Pokemon, Sigilyph is obviously not going to do you any good. That is where your tech cards come into play and adds some variety to the deck to be able to hit for weakness on certain Pokemon. For instance, say we're facing Virizion Genesect, or Virizion Mega Heracross, or whatever, grass-type decks. We've got a solution. Reshiram. Outrage. 20 damage, plus 10 more, for each damage counter on this Pokemon. Now at 130 HP, it's at that awkward point where not a whole lot knocks it out in one hit, and if it doesn't, Outrage punishes your opponent for doing so. Against Virizion Genesect, say you've got, I don't know, maybe 70, 80, let's say you got 80 damage on him right there. 80 damage on Reshiram, now you're hitting for 80 plus 20, that's 100, and for weakness, that's one hit knocking out Virizion, Genesect, Heracross EX, any of that stuff. Just for a double colorless energy. An Outrage is good because you can spinning turn into a Reshiram, let your opponent hit you, turn around and deal huge amounts of damage. Now Reshiram's not the only choice. There are others. Say you're facing, I don't know, Yveltal or Lugia. We've got Zekrom. Same thing. Outrage, 20 damage plus 10 more. Say you're, again, hit for 80. All of a sudden now you're one hit knocking out Yveltal EX as well as many other Pokemon like Lugia. It's great. It really is. Being able to just take that damage and turn it around and use it against your opponent. It makes them think twice about attacking you. And they certainly did in my case. Now the final Pokemon. Now 130 HP necessarily isn't a whole lot. And
it's really not bad.
It's not bad, but it can be one hit knocked out. So there's only one Pokemon EX in this deck, and considering that Landorus is still a thing, obviously other Donphan decks might present some trouble. Anything that's weak to water, Pyroar decks, whatever, if you're able to shut out, if they don't have their Pyroar out necessarily, if they got Litleo, or whatever, it doesn't matter. Any kind of fire deck that's not necessarily Pyroar, Kyurem EX. Outrage, again, this time 30 damage plus 10 more. And you're able to take much more damage, possibly up to 2 hits. I had an instance with this card where I was facing a Pyro deck actually. Mewtwo was hit me twice actually, for 80 damage. 160 HP on this thing. 160 damage on this thing with 180 HP right there. I was able to Outrage right back for an immediate knockout. I mean, it saved me the match. And in that matchup, that's all he had, was a Mewtwo. I started the deck with a Lunatone. I turned it around and actually won the match because of this card right here. Between this and Hawlucha. I was able to attack with Hawlucha, and then turn around and attack with Kyurem, and that was game. That was the first match of the final round. And I should not have won it, but it was just absolutely crazy. So here's your Pokemon lineup. Obviously, you're going to want to use Donphan more than anything. You can spinning turn into Sigilyph, Reshiram, Zekrom, or Kyurem. You've got Lunatone for support on the bench, Hawlucha for free retreat, and also punishing your opponent for using Pokemon EX. It's a very solid deck. Out of the 4 matches, because I went 4-0 undefeated, out of those 4 matches, obviously it's a best of 2 out of 3 format. In that, I won 8 matches out of 9. I lost 1 match to a Blastoise deck. Otherwise, I went 2-0, 2-0, 2-1, 2-0. There's just nothing that really gives this deck too many problems. I faced a Fairy deck, 2 Pyroars, and a Blastoise. So that gives you an idea. I faced this deck against Eviltal decks before, and it actually won 2 out of 3 matches that way too in practice. Alright, so there's your Pokemon lineup. Like I said, let's move on to the supporter lineup. Obviously, standard, 3 Professor Sycamore. I don't like to use 4 because this deck doesn't like to discard a lot.
Nope, not at all.
Most decks in general don't like to discard a whole lot. So 3 Sycamore is what I choose to run. Also, I choose to run 3N. Shuffle your, both opponents shuffle their hand into the deck, draw 6 if there's a beginning of the game, obviously, but it goes by the amount of prize cards that are left. Whatever, how many prize cards you have left is how many you're going to draw.
And it's cool, kids.
Yes. And in this deck, obviously, you're going to want to have a pretty good sized bench, so 3 Colress. Colress, I was able to use a whole bunch of times for a whole lot of cards with small hand size, and it saved me for sure. Definitely a good card to have when you're expecting to have a big bench, and with this kind of a deck, you need to have a big bench in order to have something to go back and forth and spin and turn into. 3 Karina. Karina, go in your deck, search for a fighting Pokemon and an item card. Again, that's where I think Lunatone comes into effect, because there's only so many times you're going to look for Phanpy, so many times you're going to look for Donphan. You may not even search out Hawlucha, you may just draw into it and happen to have it.
Exactly, that's the only reason you would get a Hawlucha, is by accident.
Yeah.
You make no sense. You know what? I'm going to go do something logical. I'm going to go open a trash bag of rubbish and see what happens.
Okay.
Something smart.
Right. Okay, so we got 2 copies of Lysander here. Automatic Pokemon catcher. When you have nothing else to do for your turn and you want to get something out of the active position and maybe to attack something on the bench, like a Blastoise, for instance, in my case, Lysander, bring it up. I was able to wreck for a knockout. Simple as that. I mean, something that provides so much trouble, very easily taken care of, just thanks to Lysander. So that's it for the supporter lineup. Very simple. Obviously, you know, there's a good enough draw support in here. You've got 9 draw support cards, 3 Pokemon and item search cards, and 2 catchers. Now we're going to take a look at the item cards. 3 Floatstone, because you don't necessarily want to have your Outrage Pokemon or your Safeguard Pokemon stuck in the active position. You want to get them back and forth to be able to be used spinning turn. There's going to be 2 Bicycle in here, which you can use for Karina when you have a small hand size. You can get a Pokemon, get a Bicycle, draw 4 cards. Why not? Up to 4 cards into your hand. Bicycle is an awesome item support draw card. Then we've got Sigilyph that has Safeguard, and we've got Lunatone that has Premonition. You don't really want to have those shut off by Garbodor, so we run 2 Startling Megafoam. Items don't give this deck a whole lot of problems, but just basically when you run up against maybe like a Seismitoad Garbodor deck or something like that, anything that runs that, or even Lucario Garbodor as a matter of fact, this will shut it down and you'll be able to get your abilities back. Definitely an important thing when you're wanting to keep yourself protected against Pokemon EX. We got 2 Ultra Ball, searching out any kind of Pokemon you want, just discard 2 cards, get out whatever you need, no matter what it might be. There's only 2 of these because we have Karina, and we're basically going with fighting Pokemon to get that out and drawing into them. This is mainly just to seek out Reshiram, Zekrom, Kyurem, or your Sigilyph, should you need to do that. We've got 2 copies of Muscle Band. Mainly, Muscle Band is because Pokemon EX are declining in popularity ever so slightly, and there are a lot of non-EX attackers out there that do well. Case in point, Donphan, Raichu, whatever, you know what it is. So Muscle Band will knock 20 extra damage on top of whatever you can do to non-EX Pokemon and EX Pokemon alike. It guarantees you an extra 20. We got 2 Silver Bangle for those Pokemon EX that we want to do that extra damage to, but maybe 10 more. We'll be able to hit for 30 more this time. So now, Pokemon like Hawlucha, for instance, can go from doing 60 to 90. 2-hit knockout on a Pokemon EX. Sounds good enough to me. We've got 1 Professor's Letter to search out our fighting energy. There's not a whole lot of fighting energy in this deck, but should you happen to need one, there you go. You got 1 chance to get it. We got 1 Switch and 1 Escape Rope. Simple enough. Switching cards are important to have in just about any kind of a deck, especially this one if you happen to not necessarily draw into a Floatstone, or if you know, you just need to get out of the active position immediately, and say you're asleep or something like that, then you can get out that way. And it also, escape rope will force your opponent to have to switch out their active as well. Stadium card in this deck, no question about it. Fighting Stadium, doing an extra 20 damage to Pokemon EX with your fighting Pokemon is huge. I mean, think about it. You've got Hawlucha with a strong energy doing 80. You've got Fighting Stadium adding 20 more, and a Silver Bangle, you're adding 30 more. So 30, 50, 60, 70, you're talking 130 damage, and then you're getting into some serious numbers. And Wreck with a Silver Bangle and a Fighting Stadium can hit for 160, 170, 180, 190, 200, 210 without even any strong energy. Add strong energy to the mix, and you're doing up to 230, all the way up to 250 damage. It's crazy how powerful this non-EX Pokemon is for a Stage 1. So there's your items, supporters, Stadium, and Pokemon. Energy is very simple. 4 fighting, 4 strong energy, and 4 double colorless. Doesn't get much more simple than that. The reason I like running this deck more than using Trevenant is because if you need to wreck, you have access now to double colorless energy because you're using it on your Outrage Pokemon as well. Makes for an easier wreck. 2 attachments of fighting energy, 1 attachment of DCE, and all of a sudden now you have enough to hit for a huge amount of damage. This deck did so well for me, in fact, that I may actually use this again in another tournament in the future. My regionals are not until the end of February, so by then, who knows, we're going to have 2 more sets out in between, Phantom Forces and Primal Clash. The metagame could be completely different. That's really why I'm showing you guys this deck now instead of keeping it as a secret. It just completely wrecked the opposition. Like I said, I had a couple of matchups that were so close at the end, and one that really shocked me, having to start with that Lunatone, and then working some way around to try to get an Ultra Ball to pull out the Kyurem, and then drawing into a Hawlucha. My opponent was stuck with a Mewtwo. He was hitting me for 20, 40 damage automatically, then he was hitting me for 60, then he was hitting me for 80, then he was hitting me for 100, and I was able to just barely tank 2 hits with Kyurem and Revenge Kill it, and he couldn't draw into any more Pokemon. It was a Pyro deck, as a matter of fact. It was a 4-4 Pyro line, a Mewtwo, and I think that was about it. I think he had a couple other Pokemon as well, but just nothing that was all that serious. Anyways, it did a huge number of damage to that Mewtwo and really saved me. Against Blastoise, Wreck saved me big time against the Keldeo EX that would have knocked me out next turn, and he only had to take 1 more prize. So this just goes to show you the raw power of this deck, how great that it really is. With this tournament, I managed to rack up 12 packs of Phantom Forces from today, and I have 4 from my 3rd place finish last time around when I played my Landorus Scoop Up deck. So my record lately on tournaments has been very good. 1st and 3rd in the last 2, and hopefully you guys can take this deck list and do well at your own local tournaments as well. And yeah, so good luck guys with that. I just wanted to share with you the amazing results of today's tournament, and I'm super psyched to see what we get in Phantom Forces coming up here. Pre-release for us, unfortunately, isn't today like it is in a lot of other places around the country. Our pre-release is on November 1st, so we'll probably see it in Walmart before we'll even get to our own pre-release. It is what it is, though. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to leave a nice, powerful like. Click that like button and share it with your friends. Also, comment down below if you got something to say or any suggestions. We welcome all feedback and support. What in the world is wrong with N?
Don't open the bag!
Wow. I guess he really did go see what Trubbish was all about.
Don't open the Trubbish bag!
Alright. Well, it appears that N is going to be sick for quite some time. So, anyways, like I was saying, guys, like, comment, and subscribe if you're new to the channel. Hope you like the deck profile. Hope you like the announcement as well. Congratulations to me, Professor K, on the tournament win. And we'll see you guys next time. I'm Professor K.
Give me an antidote!
That's N on the floor, hacking his brains out. Okay. Take care, guys.